about what you say. So if I could find the words to say, but you never listen to any of these words I can't pronounce or understand. I have to.
And welcome. And we had an issue with memory on the computer, so I had to reboot it. And apparently, doing a memory check took a long time. This is now happening, and I am not the great and wonderful Oz. I'm Frank, your host. So I'm going to turn off the background because that is terrible. So we'll just turn that off. Not a problem at all. Here we go. Make it a no background today. I don't know. That could have been the memory as well. I'm not sure. So tonight I'm going to try and we'll probably have a short show tonight. Almost got somebody to come by and talk to us. Mr. Michael Payne, which I think that I will be able to. We're talking right now, and it seems like a good possibility that he'll be able to do the show in about sometime, probably next week. Might be pre-recorded or something. Well, we're gonna figure it out. Anyway, so a little bit of stuff happened this week that I did not know about, and just found out a lot of it. So let's start out with Mr. Biden. I'm still working on video clips, but I don't have any out yet. Mr. Biden had said, actually, let's get the announcement out here. I'm going to say President Biden because I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or anything. I don't do things like that, but I just talked about President Biden. Let's see. Hopefully the ghetto birds go away soon because they are not helping my broadcast at all. Let's see. Here we go. The statement on marijuana reform, which was on October 6th. This is from the White House. As I often said during my campaign for president, no one should be in jail just for using and possessing marijuana. Sending people to prison for possessing marijuana has upended too many lives and incarcerated people for conduct that many states no longer prohibit. Criminal records for marijuana possession have also imposed needless barriers to employment, housing, and educational opportunities. And while white and black and brown people use marijuana at similar rates, black and brown people have been arrested, prosecuted, and convicted at disproportionate rates. Today, I'm announcing 3 steps that I'm taking to end this failed approach. First, I'm announcing a pardon of all federal offenses of simple possession of marijuana. I have directed the Attorney General to develop an administrative process for the issuance of certificates of pardon to eligible individuals. There are thousands of people who have prior federal convictions for marijuana possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result. My action will help relieve collateral consequences arising from these convictions. Second, I'm urging all governors to do the same with regard to state offenses. Just as no one should be in federal prison solely due to the possession of marijuana, no one should be in local jail or state prison for that reason either. Third, I'm asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to initiate the administration process to review expeditiously how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. Federal law currently classifies marijuana in Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substance Act, and classification meant for the most dangerous substances. This is the same schedule as for heroin and LSD, and even higher than the classification of fentanyl and methamphetamine, the drugs that are driving our overdose epidemic. Finally, even as federal and state regulation of marijuana changes, important limitations on trafficking, marketing, and underage sales should stay in place. Too many lives have been upended because of the failed approach to marijuana. It's time that we right these wrongs. So that happened this week, which is kind of interesting. And it's a good thing, I think, because I think it's a good start. And I do understand that there are some issues with it, and I totally would agree about those issues, because I'm not going to say that there aren't any it is only going to release those that were convicted of possession, and if they got into any trouble in jail, or if there were any cases outside of jail, then those cases would still apply. So that's obviously a thing. Changing the schedule doesn't really change things. I think a lot of people realize that the idea of legalizing or decriminalizing it across the board would probably be best at this point. Being someone who's very in favor of, I guess, decriminalization is actually what I've always been in favor of. Except for minors, which oddly enough, we're going to get into that today. That's a head shaker, by the way. Marijuana is has in a lot of states now been allowed for not only health reasons, but for just recreational use. So even people that would need it for medical use, like in California, I think even in Colorado, I think in most of the states where it is legal, it's legal for recreational use. And the government is always behind. We know this. So, right now, we've been looking at psychedelics, and the reality is unfortunately you can't legislate morality. So even looking at the idea of changing the schedule, and even in the case of fentanyl and methamphetamine, cracking down on that is not going to make it so that people don't buy it. So I mean, I'll admit there's some wrong-headed thinking, but I believe that you should give people the benefit of the doubt that they're moving towards the direction that you want. And I think that I'll probably end up discussing that with Michael Payne when he's on here from Texas. Michael Payne from Texas. As far as and like right now there's other things that need to be done too, because there's a lot of I was watching a show on Vice called Black Market, and on Black Market they were discussing the different processes that you have to get. One gentleman was trying to just wanted to be able to sell wax and was interested in selling it from, like an Uber situation, which we do have a lot of marijuana delivery places, like for instance in California, called Grass Door and such. And basically, there's just certain things that certain hurdles he had to jump through. But apparently, there are systems in place if like equity systems for marijuana where you can get the proper papers, but it is a lot of different procedures that you have to follow through with. So that happened this week, and one of my favorite people, but someone I don't necessarily like, not, but someone I know. And someone I'm not happy about the way in which she's made decisions on how to conduct herself in most cases. However, there's sometimes when I just agree with her, just the way it is. I'm not somebody, even within the party, that will automatically uh, count somebody out just because I don't agree with how their politics run. Because every once in a while, somebody will do something, different, and that works within my expectations. So, the chair of the party, Angela McArdle, was basically saying that was talking about something along the lines of, you know, do you guys just wake up and decide to make my day harder? Because apparently, and I think this is what she was talking about. I never got a confirmation, to be honest. But I think that what she was saying was that, well, there was a case of, and I want to get his name right here. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. And this is spreading all over too, so I was not expecting to find it here. But Newsweek, Arizona candidate proposes referendum on age of consent. Mark Victor, actually, you know what? I'm going to try. Let's just play this. Might work. Hold on. Let's see. That's an issue that we're having in California with the casinos. But as you heard, and as I was about to say, "Oh, that's reasonable. That's reasonable," and then he said that, and I don't. I'm yes, I'm making a face that uh, would feel humor because it's from a political standpoint. It's the kind of thing that someone says when you wake up in the morning and if you're working on a campaign and you say, well, holy shit, this guy's gone. I don't know why he did that, but I guess he didn't want to be whatever it is he's running for, and he's got a small percentage, so he probably shouldn't have said that. And as soon as he did, the Libertarian Party in Arizona totally disavowed him, because the idea that consent should now be up to a vote is not something that a lot of reasonable minds are looking at or have been looking at. And it could be surmised as to what type of groups would think that the age of consent should be up for a vote. Also, it's funny because he makes a reasonable statement that all these things shouldn't be up to a vote. My property, my body, and I kind of wonder what his thoughts are on abortion on that one too, because that would be interesting. But that your body shouldn't be up for a vote, but yet adults should all right now vote on age of consent for the people that do not have the ability to vote. So therefore they don't have a way of protecting their bodies because minors can't contract, but also they can't vote is the point, and so they cannot protect their interests. A bunch of adults would then be making that decision. So I thought that's interesting because basically it's completely opposite. Now, I do find it kind of interesting that the party has problems with that when there are people, the same people want to repeal the Civil Rights uh, the Civil Rights Act, claiming that's something that needs to be looked into, and both of them are absolutely ridiculous. The idea that the age of consent would change from 18 didn't sound like he was talking about bringing it down. And oddly enough, I believe on this week I read that France wants to move the age of consent in order to stop the crime of sexual assault, or I'm guessing statutory rape. Which, if that's the case, that's crazy, because basically it's like, well, we can stop this law if we just change this law, and then there won't be a problem. But there'll still be a problem because folks that don't want to be assaulted would just be assaulted because it was legal, which doesn't really solve the problem. But yeah, I just wonder how they reconcile that they're upset about someone talking about the age of consent, but they're okay with repealing the Civil Rights Act so that African Americans or various people of color would not be allowed to go to the eatery of their choice, have bathrooms, that those protections wouldn't exist. Because for some reason we have to make sure that folks can discriminate openly. And I don't agree with that. I can see it, but it's like I can understand their thinking, but I would never support that. I certainly would never support the age of consent thing. Both of them are just as bad, and I don't know why. This is also the same party that very recently in New Hampshire put out that that minors don't need work protections and stuff like that. So they say a lot of off the wall things, but then I guess they're not their off the wall things. So, and as I mentioned before, Angela McArdle was talking about national divorce. So I'm just saying, I don't like, I totally agree with what she's saying, that this is crazy talk, but they're pretty guilty of crazy talk. So I'm not 100% sure why or what the difference is. So, but also reminds me that Alabama was going to get in touch with me. I've written 2 letters to Alabama. I guess I'm going to have to call and see if they have anybody that they want to put on the show and discuss some things. I think we need to. One thing that has happened this year is that there haven't been a lot of candidates in a lot of different states. And I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe it was because a lot of the political interests within the Libertarian Party were fighting for its very soul, or taking it over respectively. Anyway, I don't have anything else, so I'm going to do the thing. You can help us out by going on to tpublic.com/gaming-fixx. And if you do that, you can buy some Time to Be Reasonable shirts, stickers, bags, what have you, and all of that goes to keep this show going. And, we're trying to get it more and more produced so that we can show clips and things like that. Like I just played the Newsweek clip. I don't know if that's going to be, I don't know if YouTube is going to let that slide. I don't exactly know how that's going to work, but it does work a little bit better. Or even if you heard it, because it's possible that it wasn't even played and it was just dead silence. So feel free to tell me if it's dead silence, but please go over to TeePublic and help us out so that we can get some of the better equipment and try to provide the best video podcast that we can get. Right now, we don't have everything in perfect production. I don't know what was going on with the background, but appreciate any help we can get, and thank you for tuning in.
Surrounds in the calm. Well, it stands in her feet. Lady Liberty.